episode again, and I appreciate you guys coming out and watching the show. I'm here with Stephen at the Georgia Museum of Agriculture, which if you're from South Georgia, you know it as Agorama. Okay, that's what I grew up down this area, and that's what I'm going to know it as, but I will be nice and say the Georgia Museum of Agriculture. Now, Stephen, tell me what your title is.
I am the historic interpreter leader for the historic village here.
Awesome. Now, and we're sitting out here, and in case you can't tell, it's a little warm. It is a hot Georgia day. But this is amazing out here. It's kind of like you came back and you're in the farming time when there was no cars, no mobile phones, no anything. So it's really kind of cool to come back here and see this. So tell me a little bit about what you guys do here and some of the activities that go on.
Absolutely, yeah. We have 95 acres, indoor and outdoor exhibits. We're a living, working museum. We cover the Wiregrass region of South Georgia, North Florida, a little bit into Alabama and Mississippi. But yeah, we represent a time period that lasts between 1870 all the way up until 1910. So you see the progression of agriculture and how it advances with industrialization, with Reconstruction, and with just advances in people's knowledge and understanding of science and the best methods of agriculture.
Okay, so we're standing out near the farm,
Yes,
or
ma'am.
in the farm part of it. I noticed when I came in, was it tobacco being grown up there?
There is some tobacco being grown. We have corn being grown. We have several different fields. We have a couple of kitchen or soup gardens that are being grown at some of the houses where vegetables are grown. And yeah, we try and use everything that's here. We'll do a event in the fall where we'll actually make use of the corn once it's harvested. We do have a grist mill here that is in operation. We grind our own grits and our own cornmeal that we then bag up and you can purchase at the country store.
Well, now I may have to get some of those grits and some of the cornmeal, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely.
I'm a good Southern girl. I know all the great stuff to eat. Got to have that with some tomato soup.
Absolutely.
So now, what else goes on out here?
We do a wide range of things. During the school year, we tend to cater towards school groups, and so school groups will come in for our workshops and self-guided tours where they can come in and spend a day with us learning about agriculture and agricultural communities between 1870 and 1910. Additionally, we do on Saturdays, we run the steam train. You'll probably hear the whistle blow a few times today as it's running, making its rounds around. So we deal a lot with steam. We're looking at, this is our 40th anniversary. We've been around for 40 years now, and we're bringing the cotton gin back online. The boiler's getting worked on, and we'll have a celebration this fall for over 40 years and get the cotton gin back running again. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things to do and see. We want you to come and play with us, essentially.
Right.
There's everything from chores. We're cooking today. Last weekend we played with atlatls, the precursor to the bow and arrow, and we threw darts. So we're trying to be an active site where you can come out, learn a little bit, but mostly just play with us.
Right. Well, I can tell you, the cooking back here, you can't feel this fire, but we can, and it's rather hot.
Well, and we're at an advantage. We have an outdoor cook stove, whereas the ladies next door at the Gibbs farm, they're inside cooking on a stove. I'd rather be outside today cooking.
All day. There is at least a little breeze.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
now
ma'am.
I have to make note of your dress. Now, do everyone out here dress in the period?
Yes, ma'am. We, like I said, represent 1870 to 1910, all of our historic structures, and pretty much everything inside and outside of those structures are from the time period they represent. And so, yes, our interpreters as well will be in costume. Now, we're unlike a few other places like Conner Prairie in Indiana or Colonial Williamsburg in Virginia. We don't have first-person interpretation out here, so that you're not going to have trouble going, well, why aren't they talking about life in 2016? Everybody out here is just in costume, but they are who they are, and it's the year 2016 out here. We're just showing you what life was like in a different era, and it makes us more noticeable. If you have a question or you get lost and you need to figure out something, you know, just look for somebody in funny clothes, and you know they'll have the answer for you.
Well, that's amazing. I also understand that not only do you have the educational part going on and the play, come, let's play, let's do different things, you also have areas that you can rent out for parties and weddings. You have weddings out here.
Absolutely, yeah. We have events all throughout the year, but then also we have meeting spaces. We have event spaces. We have beautiful outdoor exhibits that we have a Wesley Chapel that was built in the 1880s, and folks will come out and get married at the Wesley Chapel here. But yeah, absolutely, you can contact the museum through our webpage, and contact Brittany Gunter, who's our events coordinator, and she'll get you all set up with renting a facility for a wedding or birthday party or whatever you need.
That would be a lot of fun. And I know that nowadays the back to nature weddings are very, very popular. So this would be a great location. Anybody within a 2-hour range, really, even up in North Georgia, definitely come out here, rent a space. It's beautiful. I suggest you rent it not in the middle of July, but I don't see the point in July outdoor weddings anyway. They're very hot. It's bad enough I have to have them in June. But it's a great space. I could definitely see a beautiful outdoor wedding in October.
Oh, absolutely,
Just in case you're wanting to invite me, October.
Yeah, there you go.
February would even be better. So now, do y'all have like camps in the summer?
Yes, ma'am. We are actually right in the middle of our camp season right now. Camp kicked off at the last week of May, 1st of June. Our next big camp coming up is for 9 to 11-year-olds, and it's our good old days camp, so they get to come out and step back in time with us out here. And that will be June 20th through the 24th. There's still space available. Just visit the website, and Kelly Scott, our coordinator for our education and interpretation division, will be able to get your kids all signed up for camp.
And now, along with learning everything, I imagine they do like the darts and the bow and arrows and I'm dying to throw a hatchet over here.
Yes.
Yes,
ma'am.
He told me earlier they were throwing axes, and I thought, I'm going to throw an axe.
Yeah, no, we try and make sure that everything from chores to games, whatever we're doing out here, we want the guests to join in with us.
Yeah.
It's not. I always tell folks, I go to libraries to read, I go to museums to do, and so the more that you can do out here, the better. And that's the experience that we kind of hope everybody has. It's a snapshot in history, and like you said, it is a little bit of stepping back in time. The more that we can get folks to come out here and do that, the better.
And think about it this way, being where we're at in Georgia, southwest Georgia and where we are in middle Georgia, we have a lot of farmland still. And so who knows, you could bring your child out here for just the day, or you could send them here for a camp, and they could wind up falling in love with this type of lifestyle and want to be a farmer. And we need farmers. We need those people to grow our food and raise our cattle and give us the next generation of food for everybody. So I think it's great that you still keep this alive and show people how great it can be, because it was a difficult life, but it was actually more laid back than what we have now. Too many cell phones, too many televisions. So.
Yeah, it happens, and you're right, it is important. It's getting more and more popular around our country anyway, sustainable agriculture or farm to table. These are like fancy buzzwords that they throw around in big cities. But really, sustainable agriculture was just the way of life here.
It was all farm to table.
Absolutely. Subsistence farming has been going on for a long time. Originally this was, the first when Mr. Tift bought the land from his uncle, he named it Pine Summit. You're the highest point south of Macon, Georgia, between here and the Gulf of Mexico, and it was all pine trees. And he made use of them. And most of the folks around here, that was the agriculture that they made money off of, was pine trees. And then over time, cotton and tobacco come in, and corn and everything else, and it was a matter of surviving. You sold your trees to make money, and then you grew what you could to feed your family. And it's kind of funny now, you go to the store and buy local and buy organic is way more expensive than all the cheap stuff you get from overseas.
Exactly.
And you could just grow it yourself and not have to worry about it.
All right. So we were talking about the farm to table and the organic food being so more expensive. I remember growing up, and I mean, I'm not that old. It was just a few years ago. And we had a big garden in the back of our land. We lived in town, but we had an extra like half acre, and we grew all of our peas and butter beans, corn, tomatoes. You don't get anything better than a South Georgia tomato. And we had all of our vegetables. And my grandfather, up until he died, well, he retired before, but he worked on a farm. And so we always got our beef and our pork and some of our chicken from the farm. You know, they would slaughter, and once a year we would get enough to fill our freezer and their freezer and my uncle's freezer. And we grew our vegetables, and we bought, not that we didn't buy stuff. I even remember going to the dairy farm and getting our milk.
Yeah,
I loved going to the dairy farm to get milk. That coming out of that hose, fresh and ice cold, that's the best milk you'll ever have. I can remember even, you know, because when you get it from the dairy farm, you have to knock the cream off of it when you go to drink it. And that was, you tell kids that now today, and they're like, what?
Exactly.
You know, you had to do what to your milk?
Right.
But it was the best milk I mean, that was just the best tasting milk.
Yeah. And I'm getting after our director, Mr. Garrett Boone, that hopefully one of these days we'll get back to milking not only the cows out here, but we'll get milking the sheep again too. So.
Oh, that's amazing. So you have sheep and cattle.
We do have piney wood sheep, or Gulf Coast sheep. They're an endangered species of sheep that were native to this region after the Spanish turned their sheep loose. They kind of made an adaptation, as well as the piney woods cattle. That is seen as a cousin to the longhorn out here. And then, yeah, we have a couple mules, draft mules, so they're a lot bigger than what you normally see.
Because they had to pull the plows and stuff like that?
Well, not... I couldn't tell you historically. The pictures I've seen, our mules are still monsters compared to those. Sometimes doing museums, you end up with the animals you end up with. It's not necessarily
True.
the best ones, but these ones are more retired from regular work life and came to us. We still use them for cane grinding in the fall and hauling logs to the mill, things of that nature. So
we have cane grinding?
Yes, ma'am. In the
There's
fall.
There's nothing like some sugar cane.
Exactly, right? And we do cane grind our sugar cane for our syrup. The syrup's also available at the country store as well.
We may have to get some of that too, because you know, there's nothing like some sugar cane. I remember we used to just.
Yeah, right.
You know, I think our parents gave it to us just to keep us outside and keep us busy. Same reason they cut out watermelon and put us on out in the middle of the pavement so we wouldn't come inside so often. So.
Exactly.
All right, well, we're going to take a stroll around and show you a few more things that are out here, and we will be back in just a minute.
I'm Dale Nifong, your State Farm agent on Hillcrest. We're celebrating 14 years of service to the Dublin, Lawrence County communities. Please call us, text us, or even email us to find out what makes us different and how we can help you. We're located on Hillcrest between Dublin High School and Kroger.
Okay, so now I'm smelling fantastic chicken in here.
Yes, ma'am.
You smelt it when you walked in the door, so tell me what goes on in here.
This is our
chicken.
Gibbs house. It was moved here from Ty, Georgia, just up the road. And this is our progressive era home, about 1890 era is what we're looking at. So you're seeing more modern technology come into play. And the world is getting a little bit easier for folks, whereas you may have been using outdoor cook stove, or you're using a hearth with open fire. Here at the Gibbs house, Miss Cody and Miss Deacle, two of our best foodways interpreters, are out here cooking on an actual proper stove. And so you got a stove and an oven here, and they're frying up some.
So it's a wood burning stove.
Still wood fired, so it's a little bit different. You don't just turn on the gas and it fires right up, but you do have a stove top for working, and you got an oven for baking. A couple different warming areas as well up top. And so it is advancing from the world of stooping over an open flame. You're still using wood though. So it hasn't advanced to gas or propane necessarily, or even electric. We're still using wood, but Miss Cody, Miss Deacle, they're frying up some fried chicken. You ain't gonna beat it. Colonel's got nothing on these two ladies.
I can tell you right now. If you could smell what I'm smelling, you wouldn't leave this house. This would be where you would stay. So I'm looking forward to, do we sample this up at the restaurant? Is that right?
You don't sample it at the restaurant. You sample it right here. This isn't something that they do every day. Cody came to me earlier this week and said there was chicken on sale at the store, and she was going to fry some chicken today. So you picked the right day to come out and visit us.
Awesome. See, I know.
Yeah.
When this comes to food, I know when to go. Okay, so now we have walked into the old
Grist mill.
grist mill, because I want to say that correctly, grist
Yes.
mill. And this
Yes,
is
ma'am.
where they would grind the grits or the cornmeal and that kind
Here
of stuff.
farmers are bringing their corn after harvest in, and they're bartering, trading, bringing to mill to a miller. Usually somebody along access to water. We actually have the mill pond that we siphon off of the lake Agorama out there that runs this mill.
Right.
This mill, again, represented probably about the late 1880s, early 1890s time frame. Came from a little bit just north of here, was brought to this location here. But this is kind of, I would say, think of it like the bait and tackle shop of
Yeah.
today, the roadside stand. A miller, there's always some work to be done, but you kind of had to be a jack of all trades. You're not making your living totally off of milling corn. But we do stone grind, cornmeal and grits right here every day. That's what Mr. Tommy's been doing here, is bagging up our cornmeal and grits that are again sold in the country store as well. But those boys are having their mills right next to waterways. So there's a lot of fishing that goes on. And associated with fishing are, of course, tall tales and fishing stories where
Exactly.
your fish get bigger and bigger. And a miller, similar to Mr. Tommy here, would have got sick and tired of the arguments about who caught the biggest fish. So back here we got our corn bins all set up. And if you come in and take a closer look at the top of those corn bins, the biggest fish of the day or the week or the month or even that year will appear on the top of those corn bins, because what they done was they laid the fish out and they took a knife and carved all the way around it. And then they usually put their initials and how much the fish weighed. So there's no more telling tall tales as long as there's a grist mill around.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to do that with my son-in-law.
There you go.
Those fish get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So, well, this is amazing. So, pretty much, if you came here, he could do whatever.
Yeah, well, you would.
I mean, he could do a lot of different things for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Typically, it's either cornmeal or grits, and the stone will just be either raised or lowered depending on the need.
Right.
And so, and it would depend on what typically you're bartering or trading services and goods to get your corn ground by a miller.
All right, we have stepped over to the train depot, and
ma'am.
actually, this is where the train comes in, and you can ride it on Saturdays.
On Saturdays, yep. Our train runs from 9 to 4 while we're open on Saturdays, and it takes about 15 minutes loop around the whole site. There's a couple other train stops along the way, so you can jump off, walk through the village, come here to the train depot, hop back on, and head on into the country store. We have a 1917 Vulcan steam train, and that just like everything else, powered by fire, steam.
You can hear it in the background.
Yeah, it's about to come into the station, though. So trying to get all the talking done before the whistle gets too loud for us.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, now, so has this train track been here forever? Did y'all put it in, or?
When this was established 40 years ago, this is one of the things that was set up for at that time Agorama, and now has continued to be in use here at the Georgia Museum of Agriculture. Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, is there anything else you want to say about the train, or you want to introduce anybody, or?
I would like to introduce our primary conductor, Mr. Billy Hayes here.
Come on over here,
Come
Mr.
on over
Billy.
before the train gets here. Mr.
I'm
Billy
gonna step close to you.
is our main man.
You got him in the picture now, right? All right. So, Mr. Billy, how long you been riding trains?
About when I came out here, I knew nothing.
Oh, my
So
gosh.
I was a miller all my life. I came out here and started doing this. I started driving this train in June of 2007, and off and on until right now.
And you loving it?
Oh yeah, I love this. I do that. I do 3 or 4 things out here.
Awesome.
3, 4.
Wonderful.
But I mean, it's all the fun. The train, 1917 Vulcan. It was first built for the Hardaway Construction Company in Columbus, but it didn't go there. It went to North Carolina to work on the dams for the power company.
Well, that's wonderful.
And it's just been
And
around.
Here she comes right now.
All right.
We're gonna have so much noise.
All right. Well, you can see the train coming off in the distance, so we're just going to let y'all watch that for a second, and then we're going to go to break.
If you want a paint that's more than just easy to scrub, If you want a paint that actually repels dirt and grime. If you want a paint that stands up to life's wear and tear. Only this can. Regal Select from Benjamin Moore. Paint like no other.
Available at Four Seasons Paint and Floor Covering.
Okay, now we have come into an area that I really like. It's got air conditioning in here. But that was for, there's a reason for it,
It's
I'm sure.
climate controlled, so we have artifacts in our drugstores where we're at. Pharmacy drugstore is an important part of any community, especially agriculture community, when you're coming in. This drugstore is typical of what you probably would have seen towards the late 1890s, early turn of the century. And this is where you come to get your medicine. But it's also, you can come and get goods for your home and order stuff from the big city. It'll come in by the train that we were just at, and they can sell it to you right here in the store. Now, one of the reasons we climate control this is not only for the artifacts, but for everybody's favorite thing here at the Georgia Museum of Agriculture, the ice cream and root beer floats.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't want the ice cream melting. So we do keep it climate controlled in here for a lot of different reasons. This is one of my favorite spots as well because I'm from a little bit all over. My mother is originally from Columbus, Georgia, but my father's from Eastern Oregon, where I grew up. And I've lived in a lot of different places. But me and the soda fountain here have a lot in common. This soda fountain was reproduced by the Coca-Cola Foundation up in Atlanta for the Agorama when it opened. And they reproduced an Alaska soda water machine. So right here on the front of it, it has the engraved Alaska soda water emblem. And this is where the term soda jerk would have come from. The man that makes your root beer floats or your soda would have mixed it in a machine just like this. I also come in here on a regular basis. The ladies get sick of me begging for sweet tea. So, yeah.
See, so now you said yourself you're from up around Oregon. I know you told me that you had been in Alaska and places like that. But now, is sweet tea not the best thing ever?
Oh, I love sweet tea. Like I said, my mom's from Columbus, Georgia, so we used to, in the summer times, Eastern Oregon where I grew up is the desert, so we put a big old jar with ice, water, and tea bags on the back porch, and by the end of the day, we had sweet tea. So
You made old-fashioned
oh yeah,
sweet tea.
we did it out in the sunshine. So yeah.
Well, now, I'm going to tell you a little secret that you may not know. Your mom might know because she's from Georgia, but you know, sweet tea tastes totally different through a straw.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't drink it through a straw. That's not the correct way to
No,
drink it. If
no,
you're from
absolutely
the South
not.
and you're drinking it through the straw, you're not from the South.
No,
It's, do you know the reason behind it?
no, I hadn't heard that.
Because the ice, they say the ice needs to touch your lips for you to get the full taste of tea.
There you go. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I love ice anyway, so I'd never put a straw in any of my drinks.
Exactly. And see, I think that's one thing too is in out west and up north and stuff, they're not as big on ice as we are in the South. They don't, I mean, you know, things don't get quite as hot as they do here, but that makes a big difference. So a lot of people that aren't from the South don't realize that because they don't drink a lot of ice in their tea or their Coke or their water, and it really
And then
tastes
plus
differently.
they consider sweet tea anything with raspberry or peach or strawberry in it, and that's just not the same.
Now, I can get on board with peach because we are in Georgia and it's the peach state, but tea
Peach
is
syrup is a lot different than
Exactly.
regular peaches.
Exactly, exactly. But I have to say, there's nothing like a good old glass of sweet tea.
No, ma'am.
No offense to Coca-Cola because I love Coca-Cola too, but I'm a sweet tea girl.
And you know, yesterday was National Sweet Tea Day. I did celebrate all day long.
So he was in here quite a lot, I'm assuming.
Not only in here, but I brewed some at home and drank it all night last
Well,
night.
that is
Yeah.
great. Okay, we have really enjoyed you today. This is, if you come out here, you need to ask for Stephen because he is great. He shows you all around. He tells you all this good kind of stuff. You have been awesome. You need your own show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, well, we got one guy out here that runs a YouTube station, so maybe I'll tell him he needs a new host.
Exactly. Tell him he needs a new host. We said you need a new host. Now, is there anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, absolutely. The most important thing is here in Tifton, coming up in celebration of 4th of July, we have our fireworks fest that will be happening on July 1st this year. It's a Friday night, and come on out. We'll be open from 6:30 to about 9:45, 10 o'clock, and fireworks happening right over here over the lake. There'll be music and food vendors, the whole bit. We got flyers going up all over South Georgia, and there is more information on our Facebook page and our website, both. But also, during the daytime on Friday the 1st, we'll be closed. So I encourage you not only to come out in the evening and watch the fireworks that day, come back the next day, which is a Saturday. We're going to have a kind of a carnival-like atmosphere out here, but it's going to be with a twist. We're going to be in a historic village, so we'll have things like sack races, maybe some turtle races, trying to get a historic game of 1864 vintage baseball, and some other games and activities happening out here that day. Probably with the staff that I've got and myself, of course, we'll probably be cooking some food again that day as well too. So come on out and join us for sure for 4th of July.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. If you're coming this way, come out for 4th of July. It's going to be great.